please move out. Don't sit. First two seats you must pick it. Go this side. Today's puja of Vishnu Maya, who was the sister of Sri Krishna, was not scheduled as such in an international pujas that we do. But they say for the love of God, when all the devotees assemble, God also has to break many rules. And that's how this puja has been accepted to be done. At least once it should be done, I think, was a good idea. By your love and your devotion, it was desired, and so this puja is going to be performed. It's just spontaneous that I happen to be in England at this time, because this puja, if ever had happened, would have happened in India. Because this is the puja of a deity, Vishnu Maya, the seed of which is not easy to plant in the Western countries. Now the whole Shakti programming has been done in such a way that we have Mother as the Shakti first, the primordial Mother. Then we have three Shaktis coming out of her, as you know, Mahakali, Mahalakshmi, Mahasaraswati. And then we have children from them, brothers and sisters. So before the power of what we call the wife or the spouse was created, it is the power of the sister is created. So as you know that Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesha were born to these three Shaktis, and they all had sisters. And their sisters were married. Like Vishnu's sister is Parvati, and she was married to Shiva. It's very important to understand that these three types of powers always play on the chakras. And if you understand these three powers, how they play, then you will understand what is the importance of Vishnu Maya is. Vishnu Maya is the power of a sister in a family. So the female is the power and the male is the kinetic power, which asserts the powers of these three powers which surround him. So when the male power comes in, all these powers become helpful, acting associates with that power. Now Vishnu Maya's power is very important to understand, because mother power is to protect your innocence, because that is the most important. To protect your innocence is the mother's power. Now Vishnu Maya's power is to protect your chastity. You don't understand sometimes what is chastity and what is innocence. Innocence is a power which is not acted upon. Like we have electricity in our house. The electricity exists, like innocence exists within us. But enactment of that is done through chastity. A person can say, I did this very innocently. No, he cannot. Because whatever you do, if it is innocent, cannot be harmful to your character, to your innocence, or to your righteousness. So those people who say like this, that I did it innocently, are wrong. Because innocently, if you do anything, it becomes chastity. So when innocence is practiced, it becomes chastity. You must have respect of your chastity. Chastity is the one which is Vishnu Maya's power within us. Gauri's power is the pure virgin. She doesn't marry. As you know that Vishnu Maya was created just after her birth, she was killed by Kamsa. Now to understand the significance of chastity within us, we have to know that chastity is the foundation of all dharmas. Unless and until you have sense of chastity, you cannot have dharma. Dharma is not possible because that's the foundation. It will be a house of cards. If you do not have the foundation of chastity, it will just collapse in no time. So it's a very important thing is chastity, which has been challenged in the West throughout. And that's why I'm saying it's difficult to sow the seed of chastity in this country. And that it should happen, there must be some divine plan. I think that it has happened, that this great puja should be performed here. It's not an easy puja to do. It's to be done by people who are innocent, done by people who have led a very religious life. Those who have been very chaste, have respected their chastity. But now as you are saints, before you, everything is pure and good. Because now you are leading a saintly life. That's why chastity has become awakened in you, and chastity works in you as Gauri, as your Kundalini. So, if you come to the essence of religious life, of righteous life, of Sahajoga life, is chastity. You cannot diversify it. Now, this chastity gives you the maryadas, means delimits you. Why are you sitting here? Go further. It's better to be in front. You are not doing the puja. If you are doing the puja, then you sit here. Otherwise, better sit down. Better get my vibrations there, in front. Here, come along. So the chastity is the one that gives you maryadas, gives you the limits. How does it give you the limits? Like in the sky, it's the lightning. When the two clouds, who are like Sahajogis, we can say, came out of the sea, and pure water is there in those clouds, and they have to be poured out. When they come closer together and cross their limits of their ego, or fight with each other, or in any way clash, there is this chastity, this lightning that takes place. This lightning which says that you are wrong. Why are you fighting among yourself? Why are you crossing each other's ego? That's the sister's job. Yesterday we have had many sisters. Now the sister's job is not to take sides, but to show that if you cross your limits of your brotherliness, then there will be a lightning. Now this power of lightning is a part of the power of Sri Krishna, which he took it out from himself. That's why he became such a sweet gentle incarnation. He took it out. He said, now you become my sister, and every time they try to misbehave, you better work it out. And that's how Sri Krishna became such a gentle and a very, as they call it, a romantic incarnation. Because he took out the sisterly part away and he worked it out. But she was always with him and she worked with him. Because the sister in the family has to see that the brothers don't fight, they are all looked after well, that they are not challenged by others, that she gives them the maryadas, how far to go. Now it's very important, very, very important for all of us to understand that Freud and all these nonsensical people brought forth the theories to challenge Vishnu Maya, so that we should have all kinds of funny relationships, which is an impossibility, is a wrong thing. Now, if there is any relationship like that between brothers and sisters, for 7 generations, the family suffers from terrible diseases. 7 generations. But if there's another, like Freud-style relationship, then 14 generations the family has to suffer. So the limiting forces of Vishnu Maya are such that your ego is controlled, your superego is controlled. Your family is controlled. Everybody is under control, under the guidance of this pure power of Vishnu Maya, which exists within all of us. And the saddest part is that in all the Western countries, Vishnu Maya is sick, absolutely sick. I mean, I have lost my hearing up to that point it has come on the left-hand side, because the sense of chastity is completely lacking. We have to forget about the people now who have no sense at all, but now we are Sahajogis. So coming to the right point, we have to say that many people have still some lingering funny ideas. Like, I have a good friendship with that gentleman, or I am very friendly with such and such gentleman, and all that. It's not a maryada then. You cannot have friendship between men and women. You cannot. It's absolutely absurd. In the West, the whole culture is funny. Because if you go to a dinner party, you are supposed to sit with somebody's husband on both the sides. Horrible. But in the East, it's not done. Because the Vishnu Maya is against these things. She will see to it that husband and wife sit together. Now, here, as you know, the chastity part is so much missing that our left Vishuddhis are catching. And when I talk about it, it catches more. Now, when you say you are not guilty, you are actually admitting it to Vishnu Maya, to your own sister, saying that I am not guilty. Because she doesn't like you to have the guilt upon you. The wife may like you to have the guilt. She may like that you should have the guilt, because she thinks her power is challenged and that she has somebody who is her rival. But not Vishnu Maya. The sister does not say that. But a brother and a sister are never friends. Now, in a group we are sitting here like that. In any group, a brother and a sister, they know that they exist as brothers and sisters. But they don't cling on to one person, they don't talk to one person, they don't get friendly with that sister. Like once we had a big fight with these Christians once, I remember, and I must be having at least 30 cousins and 4 or 5 brothers I had at that time. And we went to that function, and among Indian Christians, we have Christians from all kinds of stratas. So there were some vagabonds, I think they passed some remarks about us, we sisters, you see. We didn't know we had so many cousins. They all shot out, you see, just like Jack in the Box. And they all took over and started beating those boys. And then we realized so many cousins we have. Otherwise, we never knew. They were somewhere. We were not talking to them much. We were talking among ourselves, our friends, because we were talking to each other. Suddenly we found we have so many cousins and so many brothers. It was most surprising that we should have so many cousins there. We did not know. Immediately they jumped on the protection of the chastity of their sister, because she is the basis of their chastity. But normally, you don't talk to your brother much, nor the brother talks to you so much. You don't get friendly. But at the time of difficulties, at the time of maryadas, at the time of consulting about something that is dear to the family, the sister comes in. Recently, my own brother, younger brother, wrote a letter to me because there's a problem in the family. Now, my mother is not there, and normally a sister is better because she is easily available to you than the mother. Mother is so busy with the whole family, the whole work, universe she is doing. So the sisterly feeling is very important. Now, just imagine that our left Vishuddhi is so bad. It is, of course, because we have never cared for our chastity. We have not respected our chastity. In India, it is not so. Women and men all respect their chastity very much. And I have asked some foreign going boys, they said that though we were doing all wrong things as they were doing, we all the time somehow knew that we were doing wrong. I said, how is it? He said, there's something like a sister's relationship. But now, I can say that Indian men are also becoming just like you people. I have lost their power to keep their chastity. The men must respect their chastity because they think they do not owe anything to the chastity. And if the basis of your spiritual existence doesn't exist, you'll collapse in no time. For that, I have many a time said that put your attention on the Mother Earth. The green. Green is the color. If you put your attention into that, then you will be saved from these errors you are committing of adultery all the time. You are looking at other sisters, others' wives, others' daughters. So the relationship that is now being expressed, as you know, is of a daughter, of a sister, and of a mother, which is a very, very pure relationship. So much so that now supposing you use your brains too much, then why does your heart catch? Have you thought of that? Why does your heart catch when you use right side too much? What is the reason for catching your heart? Must understand this. It's the same thing. The relationship of, say, Shiva is to Vishnu in two ways. Firstly, Vishnu's wife, a sister, he has married. All right? Then who is the sister of Shiva? Shiva's sister is Saraswati. If you work too much on Saraswati, heart will catch. It has maryadas. This is how the intermarriages took place, by which the sister's relationship is worked out to keep your maryadas of your chakras. If you cross that, you suddenly get into the left or the right because you have crossed the maryadas of that. Now this sisterly relationship existed in other incarnations also, like Muhammad Sahib had a sisterly relationship with actually what we have to say that his sister as such was Ali's wife, but she was born to him as a daughter. So they can be born as the daughter or as the sister. She was born as Nanaka's sister, Nanaki. She was born as the daughter of Muhammad Sahib. So it could be a sister or could be the daughter of an incarnation. But daughter and sister are innocent, pure chastity. Now think of it, that those people who cannot understand the importance of chastity, how can they talk of any laws whatsoever? Because laws means maryadas. And it has the proper sense through the power of Vishnu Maya. Now you might say that not to steal anybody else's thing is also not proper because it belongs to somebody else. But who will tell you? Who is the one that is going to tell you that this is wrong? Of course there is police, but who has told? The lawmakers. Which part of the unconscious has played is the Vishnu Maya. Because as soon as you steal something, you feel guilty. In the law also this word guilty is used. And guilty comes from the left side is Vishnu Maya. So how important it is to have a sense of chastity. But we are very divided people. Those who have moral chastity may not have material chastity. Those who have got material chastity may not have moral chastity. Moral chastity comes first. That's very important because it is innate. And if your moral chastity is perfectly nourished, then automatically the material chastity comes. But the effect is the same. Whether you do money cheating in Sahaja Yoga or whether you cheat morally, your left Vishuddhi will be caught. And the whole problem will start from left Vishuddhi. Now supposing somebody tries to cheat in Sahaja Yoga, wants to take away the money of Sahaja Yoga or something like that, immediately his left Vishuddhi will be caught. As soon as the left Vishuddhi will be caught, he will start behaving in a funny manner. The whole catch will be shown. If you become immoral also, the left Vishuddhi will be caught. Now the whole guilt part comes from there. Sin against the mother could be also an insult. In any way, answering back to mother. Many people have a habit, I have seen, of saying, no mother. No is never to be said. Because if you say no, that means you go to the left Vishuddhi. The Vishnu Maya power will not tolerate your no for anything at all. Many people have a habit of saying this, no mother. This is not to be done. Because once you catch your left Vishuddhi, all your left chakras become weak because the chastity, which is the basis of all the chakras, is weak. So how much important it is to understand the value of left Vishuddhi. All of us catch on left Vishuddhi and we do not think that it is such an important thing. We say, oh, left Vishuddhi catching means I am feeling guilty. We do not understand that what have I done? I have crossed the limits. That's why it's showing there. I have neglected some kind of a morality. I have gone on a wrong path against mother and father. That's why left Vishuddhi is catching. Left Vishuddhi is the indication of the mistakes, of the wrongs, of the sins. We can't afford to have left Vishuddhi. Sahaja Yogis cannot afford to have left Vishuddhi. To add to the trouble, they smoke. They take all kinds of things. In India, they take what you call tamakhu. It's a kind of a what leaves are these? Tobacco leaves. And they think they have done no wrong, but left Vishuddhi catches. Left Vishuddhi, in a way, is the gateway to all kinds of problems for yourself. So be careful not to feel guilty about anything. Moreover, it's a very great vicious circle. For example, somebody has done something wrong. I have decided that I have to tell them on their face whether they like it or not. This is wrong, as far as possible. Of course, I try to play sometimes tricks on them to understand, if they do not understand my telling them, up to a point. And then I tell them that now you better get out. I cannot have you in my body anymore. So I throw them out of Sahaja Yoga. Once they are out of Sahaja Yoga, at least my headache is over. Now, what I have seen, that when this negativity starts acting, people, instead of facing it, facing the mistakes that I'm wrong, I should not have done it, it's a wrong thing to do, start giving explanations. Once you start giving explanation, this left Vishuddhi starts becoming like a bloated big lump. And then there's no possibility of curing, no possibility of cleansing. So people start giving explanation why I did it, why I did this. Once it is said is wrong, to be accepted, all right, next time I'm not going to do it, I'm very sorry. But sorry seems to be a very difficult word for at least Western Sahaja Yogis and some of the Indian Sahaja Yogis also, to say sorry. I'm very sorry. Indians never feel guilty is a good idea. But they never say sorry. So it's just the same. Now, one has to understand that when you have committed a mistake, you are a human being. To err is human and to forgive divine. But you must know that you have erred. If you go on giving explanations, then one thing is definite, you do not understand that God knows everything. If He says you have done wrong, then it is wrong. How can you challenge? How can you say, this is the reason I did it, that's the reason? This is the thing one must understand. Because this is the power of electricity. You must understand, it gives you a shock. It shocks you. And then you realize that I have done a mistake. So don't create a shock for yourself. Do not behave in a manner that ultimately you end up with a shock. Of course, the mother's power is so forgiving. Sadashiva's power is so forgiving that you are allowed and allowed and allowed to continue with what you are doing for a while. But is being told, is explained to you that this is wrong. But supposing you cross your limits, absolutely, then suddenly the Vishnu Maya appears and the whole thing gets exposed. In Sahaja Yoga, you get exposed. So one must know that though this power is so helpful, so guiding, so improving and nourishing and protecting, still, up to a point. Otherwise it is she only who exposes you. Because she can't bear any more this nonsense from you. So if you go on like that, she'll just see to it that she is exposed. You have seen people have been doing all kinds of filthy things. I have known many prime ministers and all these presidents and this and that. When they die, exposed. Nobody says that such and such person was a chaste person. Very few leaders of nations have got this certificate, that they were very chaste people. Chastity is a very, very rare certificate they get. Because once you get a power in life, then you think you have a free hand. You can do what you like. You can be a chaste person. You can be anyway unchaste. You can do what you like. You become sort of overpowered with this idea that I have got all the powers now, I am very well placed. And that becomes a complete delusion for you, and you forget that chastity is so important. So the higher a person is placed in life, the higher positions he occupies, the higher what you call the ego pampering stuff he gets, the more he presses down on the left Vishuddhi. So such a person escapes into the left Vishuddhi because in his heart of hearts, in his unconscious, he feels guilty. And the whole thing goes as a guilt in the left Vishuddhi. And when it goes as a guilt in the left Vishuddhi, then it's a difficult situation because such a person, he becomes extremely sensitive. You say anything to that person, he feels more guilty. You try to cure his left Vishuddhi, then he becomes even worse. It's a very bad situation with left Vishuddhi people. And they are the people who have left Vishuddhi always give explanations. A person who has right Vishuddhi will be arrogant, but left Vishuddhi people have a very sly method of giving answers back, an explanation for everything. Whatever you say, they will say, no, mother, this is this, this is this. This is one thing. Not only, it doesn't end there, it gives you sarcasm. That's why in the West, people never talk straightforward. It's always sarcastic. To talk straightforward means they think it's stupid, it's unintelligent. Unless and until you talk in a very sarcastic manner, which sometimes, it's difficult to reach. That's how, in a very crooked way, they talk. And that crookery comes through this left Vishuddhi problem. If your left Vishuddhi is so bad, you cannot achieve anything that is sweet, that is beautiful, that's appreciative. Left Vishuddhi will never appreciate. Those who suffer from left Vishuddhi can never appreciate another person, can never. It will have its own say. It will think I am the best because it has to exist. That problem has to exist. So how? It's a kind of a perverted ego that doesn't want to accept that anybody can be better than me, that anybody I have to follow, that I have to take some lessons from another one. I've had many examples I see, especially people who are with me. I find they get into left Vishuddhi very fast because they lack in protocol. Once they start lacking in protocol, they go into left Vishuddhi. So to be with me is a blessing, no doubt, but also one has to be very, very careful that you do not cross the protocols. Do not try to come over forward, just prancing. Some people have a habit of crossing the limits, and as soon as you cross the limit, left Vishuddhi is created. This should be awe for your mother. There should be respect for your mother, which is guarded by left Vishuddhi. Now, this is a very hidden power of Sri Ganesha. What you call is the power of Ganesha is left Vishuddhi acting like chastity. Ganesha's power are all expressed through left Vishuddhi. So those who believe in Ganesha in pure innocence must know that in your every day-to-day behavior, in every day-to-day action, there should be chastity. Ganesha is expressed as flowers of chastity. And just see, in the divine law, if there is no chastity, how do you delimit people? How do you make all right? How do you cleanse them? How do you make them evolve? Supposing a tree is growing and there is no limit in it, it just grows like a wild thing, it has no limits, then what will you get out of it? Nothing. So to make a person higher and higher, you have to limit it. My father used to give a very good example of this, that if you take some wheat, the wheat, you please now don't disturb. If you want to go out, you can go out. But don't disturb the people, anybody moving about. This is also another thing. See, all these things are nothing but the upheaval of the left Vishuddhi. See, all this show off or disturbing or trying to be overpowering or very forward person or bumptiousness, all these come from left Vishuddhi because you want to overcome your left Vishuddhi, so you do it. And then it is added to it. The more you try to overcome it, the more it is added to. Now, the father's story, I must tell you that he said that you have got the wheat, and if you spread it, it just fritters away, like attention does. But if you put in a gunny bag, in a bag, you can heap it up and it can achieve a height. In the same way, if you fritter away your attention without chastity, it spreads out. It has no limits, it has no forms, it has no shape. But if you delimit it, then you become higher and higher and higher, and you can rise higher in your spiritual life. As you are the people who want to lead a very spiritual life, you must understand that left Vishuddhi is to be corrected. Now, how do you correct your left Vishuddhi? I get sometimes very tired with them, really I get very. I just give them up. Because if they are catching and you tell them you are catching, they become even worse. What a vicious circle it is. What is the cure for it? How to break the vicious circle? Is by facing it. Should say what? You are feeling guilty for what? You are doing the same mistake again and again, and still you are doing it. You should give all injections to yourself. But instead of that, they start telling me, no mother, no mother, no mother. You tell yourself, no, myself. I have done this today, tomorrow I am going to do it, day after tomorrow I am going to do it. Stop it now, stop. And stop at this point. There you exert your Vishnu Maya power. Vishnu Maya power has to be neutralized, if so, by your mistakes. But if it has to be brought back into its power, you must use Vishnu Maya's power by giving yourself shocks. Then only you can do it. So on that point, on the Vishnu Maya point, I really fail. You have to do it. And that's why I was thinking about this puja, that when you people are doing this puja to me, if I say anything, it will create more Vishnu Maya in you. But that's the easiest way to manage things. You see, I am feeling guilty. You're finished. I have taken the punishment, I call myself guilty. It's like in the court, the jury says you are guilty. All right, accepted, I am guilty. But no punishment. Take no punishment. If you have done wrong, then punish yourself. Now there are two ways people punish. One is like some people punish them by saying that I will not have my food. But those people who have a habit of not having food, and this thing can also become aggressive with that kind of a habit to trouble others by not eating food. I mean, human beings are very crooked. They know how to kill themselves with a crooked knife all the time. So that's not the way you can correct yourself. If you have to correct yourself, then you have to face yourself in a proper way. Supposing you have done something wrong, then you should do something that you would like to do normally and punish yourself. You should not do something that you would like to do normally. Like correcting yourself, somebody is, say, very fond of the gardens of flowers. Then you do some mistake, you don't see flowers for some time. Just close your eyes for flowers. Now, there are some people, supposing, who are fond of singing. So if you do mistakes, then just stop singing. That's how you have to shock. You must know Vishnu Maya is a lightning. And the lecture has to be like that. It cannot be that soft one as Sri Krishna was. It's a very powerful thing I'm telling you. And may God awaken that power within you of Vishnu Maya. It's the most powerful thing that a human being can have. It's the most auspicious thing. You become a holy personality. This is one of the ways of getting God's realization. It was a nice question, aptly asked. The right time, yesterday, is to establish your chastity. Not by giving bandhans, taking vibrations from mother, and then getting lost, not that way. You yourself correcting yourself morning till evening, and facing yourself and not feeling guilty, and learning new things. All the time is the sister who teaches you all the time how to be better and better and better, not the mother. Because mother, you can say no mother. To a sister, if you say electricity, all right? Try your fingers in the plug and you will know. No explanations. With this understanding, today we are going to do the puja for the establishment of our chastity. Chastity of our emotions and chastity of our mind. Now, whatever you have done so far, forget it. Forget the past. That is very important also, to forget the past. Because there's a very good way of explaining, because I had this, that's why it has happened. My mother was like this, that happened. My father was like this. Mother, father, everybody you forget, now you belong to this family, which is a holy family. People who are saints. Sitting here. Among them you are. And automatically these laws will start working. I will not have to tell you whether you be friendly with that person or not friendly with that person. You see, interest in another sex all the time is not a sign of chastity. It's horrid, absolutely ridiculous. You become stupid. Like some men know so much about what women use, perfumes, this, that. What's the use? Are you slaves of women or what? They become experts on this nonsensical thing. Your men live like men. And women have to have that sense of chastity within themselves, because they are the powers. Why are you wanting to become like men? I mean, you are the powers behind them. And women must look after their chastity. For that I must say, I must bow to Indian women for that. The way they are humble, the way they are chaste, one has to learn. Of course, there are many who are not also, but the humility that they have. There's only one category we should not have humility. That is the incarnations. I cannot have humility. Sorry to say. There are certain qualities you can have and enjoy and cherish. I cannot have. I cannot humble down myself. Cannot do it. I'm sorry. Not supposed to do it. No incarnation was humble. They cannot. Because they have no guilt. I have put so many guilty people in my left Vishuddhi that my ears are getting blocked, trying to clear them out. If you can clear out your guilt, my ears will be opened up. My trouble will go away. So please, I request you to keep your left Vishuddhi all right. Don't feel guilty. Be in the center. Be in the center. Watch yourself and face yourself. Shock yourself. Correct yourself. Only such people will ascend. Another way is meditation. with your left hand towards the photograph, with the light there, right hand on the Mother Earth, you can work it out. Put the light over here, give a bandhan to your left Vishuddhi, you can work it out. But these become rituals if you do not do it from your heart. So first of all, face it. Mentally face it fully, then do it with these things. Emotionally understand it also, that the emotions you have should have no guilt in it. So for all our practical purposes, we are not to use all such words which shows our guilt, but humility. Humility is very different from a guilty person. Guilty person is the person who is under duress, under pressures, but a humble person is a free person. He is humble in his own freedom, in his own exuberance. Like the trees, when they are loaded with fruit, they just bow to the Mother Earth. Like if you go to the sea, you will find that all the trees around the sea, especially the coconut trees, all bend towards the sea, because the sea has given them that speciality. The water that is in the coconut comes from the sea. So all of them have that respect, that humility towards the sea. In the same way, a person who is not guilty only will be really humble, because guilty people, as I told you, are aggressive by their sarcasm, by their nasty words, by their answering back, by their explanations. But a humble person is a free person, free to be humble, free to be kindly, to be gentle, to be compassionate. And that sort of Sahajogis you have to be, so that when people meet you, they are impressed by your humility. But humility doesn't have any subservience, innocence and humility. I lack that quality completely. I cannot be humble, and you should never try to humble me down, because that is not to be done. But nobody can say in my behavior when they meet me that I am not humble. I act as a very humble person. I can act as a very humble person, but to be very frank, I have no humility of any kind within me. No humility. Compassion is very different from humility. Humility is a human quality, is a special quality only the bhaktas have. Only the bhaktas have. It's such a beautiful quality of taking the showers of bliss. The one who gives bliss cannot be humble, because it cannot take anything. It's the only human beings who are humble and who can take it and achieve it and receive it. And a person who cannot take is so lonely, so lonely. Such a person cannot get companionship with anyone, because it has to give and give and give. It's so lonely and has to face everything oneself. Those who are humble can only become friendly with each other, can share their problems with each other. I cannot, because you have no solutions. I have to solve my own problem. So the humility can only help you to articulate and to have rapport with your friends, everyone. Share your difficulties. But again, I have to warn you, because it always happens. Your humility should not be sympathetic. Humility is a detached person. It's a detached quality. It's not a quality that gets attached to one person or second person. It's a humble style of life, where you are not arrogant unnecessarily, you don't shout at people. But in India, we say the cow is a very humble animal. It gives its milk. It provides everything. It doesn't attack it. So humility is such a guard for you. Of course, sometimes people take advantage of humble people. Doesn't matter. As long as you have not lost your humility, everything is all right. But people lose their humility. When people try to trouble them, they become left Vishuddhites, and then they lose their humility. And that's one thing one should not lose. Because if you have to keep connection with the divine, then you have to be humble. There's no other way. If you are not a humble person, you cannot keep the relationship. See, two qualities, like a plug and a socket. The plug has to be the plug, and the socket has to be socket. In the same way, if you have to get something out of the divine, you have to be humble people. Through arrogance, you will not get anything. Through aggression, you will not get anything. Through anything, some people also feel that I love mother, but that love is to be expressed through complete humility. That's the only way, that's the only channel through which you can approach me. There's no way out. So we end up today on a very high stage. It's the beginning of God's realization. But you must speed up with me. It's not easy to keep speed with me. So you have to speed up with me. If you have to go towards God's realization, first establish your sense of chastity and humility. May God bless you. So now we start our puja. You can wash my feet if you want. But Ganesh Puja has to be there. One Ganesh Stotra. Now for this you have to judge yourself. You have to judge yourself, not to accept guilt, but to judge yourself. Am I a very forward type of a person? Do I go forward all the time? Do I sit all the time before everybody else? Do I try to be arrogant to mother? Do I say no to mother? Do I behave like... see all these points within yourself. It's not for others, it's for you to see. How far I go? Am I presumptuous? Am I bumptious? Am I do things which I should not have done? Like that you go on into this thing. These are symptomatic. Symptoms coming from inside. And once you understand your symptoms, oh, I am that. All right. No more. Face it. Tell yourself. As soon as you say, I am not guilty, doesn't mean that you do not face it. You face it. Start the washing of the feet. Today, I am sorry, only the virgins can worship me. Only the real virgins can worship me. Little girls, if there are any.